One thing you picked up on is friends, and I think I talked about this. I've had conversations recently about friendships and how hard it is to feel a genuine, authentic connection with someone. Like, I feel like I do need to go quite deep with people and being quite intense with them to have that connection.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just doesn't register. Like, I will forget you in a week.
Yeah.
We would have a great time together, but if we don't go beyond a certain point, I won't remember to call you the week after. And it always confuses or triggers people because they may feel like they've gone deeper than they've ever been.
Yeah.
But you haven't registered on my scale yet. So there is no friendship yet.
But don't they say ADHD, if you've got ADHD, you basically love everybody? So you give this intensity to every single person that you meet. And then that person exactly is like, wow, this is amazing. And then you're just like, see ya. I'm out.
So I think that thing is like, in terms of friendship, and also this can apply to all of us as well, because I don't know anyone who, I don't know very many people who have a strong, consistent group of friends that they can rely on. And I think as it gets older, it's getting worse.
Yes.
And the more people I talk to now, it's like, I think I asked 8 people in my team, how many friends do you have? 3 was the highest number.
Wow.
Like actual friends that you can sit there and be like, these are my friends. Like if I'm not well, they bring soup. And if it's my birthday, they are cancelling the weekend in advance. I don't even have to ask them. Like, it's really high level of connection and interaction. How many friends would you say you all have?
Gosh.
You know,
You
actually,
can't
like,
count family.
Mine don't.
Not family, like genuine friends, people who are not
A
related
lot
to
of
you.
my genuine friends aren't even in the country, so I feel like that for me is the sad reality. I do have some beautiful friends here who will cancel their plans if I'm sick or if I do have something big to celebrate. But those ride or dies, like one is in Barbados right now, like my creative partner, like another creative partner, and then like a lot of them are in America. So even if I was sick, they can't fly over. You know what I'm saying? So
What constitutes a friendship? Like, I gave my definition of those things. What does a friendship actually mean to you, though? What would you qualify it as?
I mean, like, for instance, if I take my friend Day, hold tight Day, in Barbados, like, if I was sick, they will pull, and, you know, especially because they're another creative, they'll be like, all right, cool, what do you need done? And they will help me build a deck, or they'll help me something along those lines to make sure I don't drop the ball, even on my personal things. They'll bring me soup. I'll bring them soup. If something's happening with their kids, I'll help them with their kids. If they need something in Barbados tomorrow, ship something to Barbados tomorrow, you know? So like those things where they want to make sure that your mind, your heart, your soul, your physical body is always on top form. And friends who can call you out as well, because we're not perfect, right? And I feel like I don't know, maybe it's because I'm from Southeast London. When you can puff your chest to me, I respect you more. I don't like people that can't be honest with me. And like you said, like I'm like, you're quite direct, right? And you're the only way you know how to be is real. And I pride myself in being authentic. So I think people like Day and other people, when I don't act in my top form, they'll call me out. And I love that because they want you to correct yourself. They want you to grow, and they don't want you to operate in a
So
low
what qualifies
elsewhere.
them to have that opinion of you versus someone? Because obviously other people will try and have that opinion of you. And what gives them the permission? Is it you grant it? Is it time? Is it
I think it's, well, first and foremost, I moved to Barbados, 2 years ago? I met them in April. 2 years ago, essentially. And I think it's time, them seeing me at my highest and my lowest and my my normal frequency. So I think it's that, and then also the consistency, right? Them always showing up, them I don't know, just being consistent with their behavior, whether that's in a good way, a bad way, or I feel like that's what constitutes them that right to tell me about myself, essentially. So yeah, I think it's that consistency and how they view me, and also how I feel about myself, how they affirm me. Like, do they say things that I really feel is aligned with my spirit, even when, so the good things about me I feel is right, the bad things, but even when they call me out that, you know, on things like, they're the one who said that they think I have ADHD for sure. Like, I was just like, so because I value their opinion and I see how they operate with other people, I was like, you know what, maybe I should get tested, which I still need to get tested. But when they started like listing some of the things, and even just listening to you speak, I'm like, rah, this sounds like my childhood, or this sounds like my adulthood. So I definitely need to get tested for sure. But,
How about you, Shelly?
Do you know, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, wow, your point earlier, I have so many friends. I've had so many friends like through my life, and I've had so many periods in my life, and I've met someone or I've met a group of people, and I think I've consistently kept them through and them going. But I wouldn't say any of them are like my best friends and they're old, but I could still, you know, we meet up once a year or we connect on some chats or whatever. But then I was just realizing, I think one of my problems I struggle with really close friends is that I'm a really intense person. I'm really intense, and I can be really intense, and I can have moments where I'm really intense, but then I want to dip out, and I just don't want to be intense, and I just want to be really quiet. I don't want to be talking to anyone. I don't want to be messaging anyone, and that's hard, I think, for people in your life, because they want you to always, because some people are really demanding. They want to be calling, messaging, and I'm just like, I'm start having palpitations. I'm like, you know, and I feel like I have to go in hiding, and that must feel, I'm thinking about it here, that must feel quite cold, but it's not. It's just that's how I love, and so meeting people, to your point, meeting people who are like you, and I think that's how me and you work so well, because we know that about each other, and it's like there's going to be no animosity that we haven't spoken, but then when we do, it's like boom, you know, and we're really excited and we're just bouncing things. Then we separate and it's all good, and no one's feeling a bit displaced and no one's feeling hurt, or, you know, why doesn't that person like me? So I feel like friendships are, and you're right, as you get older, become more challenging and life becomes more busy, and so you let less people in. But yeah, I love loads of people.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
How about you?
You got so much friends. I'm like,
I'm just realizing I haven't got that many everyday friends.
I think that's a key qualifier.
Yeah, that's it. That is.
Like, are you checking in, even if it's not every day, but 4 or 5 times in the week, there's like some sort of crossing over of communication, or just like, how are you, or sharing space.
I don't think I have that many, but I do have friends that no matter the space between us, whether that's distance or time, when we link, it's straight in, like we've never missed a beat. And that, like, I count you as one of those friends. So have I got true friends? Yeah. And what I've learned as I've been getting older is acceptance. My true friends get my acceptance. Once I accept you for who you are, and I still check for you, then it's good.
I love that.
And that, but I've got friends that, or people that were friends, and it's kind of fizzled out, because I've also understood that some friends are just there for a part of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
sure.
you can't go no further with them, but you know them, and you have to honor the times that you share together when you see them, but you don't have to reconnect on that deep, meaningful level if it's not there. Because how many times have you seen a friend or someone you've known from the past, and you're speaking and you run out of things to say, and you say, oh, you're still on the same number, and you have no intent of calling them. So I've had to cut that like instinct out, like we don't need to swap details. And that it was good to see you. And
that's really good. Because I think after years of being outside, I think I've been doing stuff since 18 years old. And that's over 20 years now. And I'm like, I know people from the most random places and positions in life. And sometimes I feel like there's need to like beeline for them and be like, hey, what's going on? And you realize within like 3 questions, I have no idea why I did this. Like I just thought I was 22 years old and we were still out going to parties, going to the lick parties, and really happy to be outside. And I felt like I was there, but we're not. And I have nothing to say to you in the most respectful way. So I stopped beelining for people. I just let people just pass if that's what if they're just there, and it's like I just go.
That's a qualifier though, you know. Like being around someone and you don't have to say anything or do anything, and there's that no expectation. Like you can literally just go to that person's yard and just chill. Don't say it and just sit back. You're all co-working or you're watching Netflix and I'm working on something. It's like, I think that in itself is like the beauty of friendship.
That's how I got with Kareem, my older son. He's 22, and when he was a teenager.
Your oldest son is 22.
Yeah,
It's mad.
How old are you?
I'm old. I know I look young.
You look so young.
Thank you. I'll take that.
It's that cutie blood, man.
Yeah. But I would just go and sit in his room. while he'd be playing video games and he'd be on the line with his friends, cussing, doing all these things, but I would allow him that space and we would just sit in each other's like presence and just do that so often that he didn't feel away. And that's like, I was like, it was important for me to set that up. When we've got nothing to say to each other, we can be in each other's space and it's fine.
So nice.
How do you manage the transitions from the friends that were to the friends that are now? Because obviously at some point you shed them. Like there are people that just don't make it.
Some people you have to kind of keep at arm's length. And the older I've got, the more I've learned how to do it with a bit of grace. It's like, cool, I can't let you closer, but I'll be cordial. But
some of them are like worse than relationships. Like people you actually love and have intimacy with. It's harder to lose friends, some of them, because it's like there was something about you that you represented that I really enjoyed.
Once you realise someone's not like, because that's the thing about when you're young, you can't see everything someone's going through, so you take them more or less at face value and whatnot, and so much is going on that you just accept and start building this friendship. And then when you start realizing that you probably can't help somebody, that they're toxic or there's just too much trauma and damage, and you have to just let them go. And that sometimes you have to let them go for your own sake and your own health,
for sure,
and that's
and growth as well.
Growth,
Amy, how do you deal with friendship breakups? Wow.
Are you mean? Wow. Are you mean? Are you mean?
No, I mean, do you know what? Because this is probably the first year I would say I've had maybe one serious friendship breakup. We're trying to rekindle, but it's like, and they actually watch your podcast. But yeah, that's actually how I found out about you. But yeah, I think, how do I deal with it? I mean, I try to rekindle, but then I have to sit back within myself. I pray on it a lot, and I have to sit back with myself and be like, okay, why is this happening? And is that version of our friendship helping me to develop helping me to grow in this journey that I'm on? And I feel like at that moment in time, I had to, although they played so many pivotal roles in my life, I feel like at that stage in my life where I needed empathy, where I needed people to support and help me grow and not give me that tough love, like, because I'm from a Caribbean family, we get that tough love quite a bit with a side of nurture at the same time, right? But I think a lot of the things that was kind of given to me during that time in the friendship didn't help me through that time when I needed empathy, when I needed tenderness, especially when I was like depressed and like full of anxiety and like, I needed, and people say I think too big. And I think at the time I was being told I'm thinking too big, and I didn't like that. Then when I was around other friends that said, no, think bigger. And then I ended up getting the biggest contract that I ever got paid, in my entire life. So it's just like, if I continue to, although an amazing person, if I continue to listen to that rhetoric and to that opinion, I would have never gone for the money that I had wanted or anything along those lines. So although they're a beautiful human, I feel like even God maybe kind of made us separate in that moment in time. So yeah, I just kind of let it go. But if there are still parts of our friendship that I would love to rekindle, but there's other parts that I'm like, we need to set a boundary with that. That can't come into our future friendship, if there is a future friendship. Yeah.
It's funny because I think we've introduced all this sort of therapeutic language into the world, and people have more information, but when it comes to actually receiving, so like everyone can say it, and they'll be like, my boundaries and triggered and like all these words. But when they are the ones that are the subject of those things, there is a complete shutdown in like accountability and openness all of a sudden. So it's funny because my therapist was just like, Marvyn, you have no boundaries with no one. The fact that someone can call you at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, ask for your help, and you will wake up, get out of bed and do it. Like,
no, you need to
step back. And so I was like, but like I can. Like, as in, like, it's possible for me to help. So I would. And it's so funny because the second that I was like, do you know what? Actually, it's causing me a lot of headache. Yeah. All the most challenging things happening in my life are because I'm just so accessible. Yeah. So I was like, let me employ some boundaries. So I had this whole period of like 3 months of sitting down with people and just random conversations and being like, these are my boundaries. This is what I'm okay with. This is what I'm not okay with. Please don't do this and please don't do that. And they'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. And then they would just do the thing.
Yeah.
And so after a while of it just keep on happening, I just like, one day I think I yelled at someone. because I have a thing where I believe it's okay to tell someone to go themselves if they are consistently crossing boundaries. And I think it's a healthy endeavor to tell someone to go themselves because there's a limit of like, I don't think that's okay.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Go yourself.
Yeah. No, real talk.
And by the time
do you make sure that you're doing it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's always incremental.
Not the first time and then
No. It's always incremental. So by the time I get to go yourself, I feel vindicated in the fact that I know I've given you communication in different ways and you've dishonored the communication. So what I think is really useful is when you have that framework and discipline. But I don't feel most people are really comfortable with being told what boundaries are.
Yeah.
I think even more so as a man. I think as a man, like people are just so used to men just being tools of whatever.
Right.
Like men just do stuff. Carry this, take me there, protect me from this, serve me that way. And if you say, no, actually today's not a good day, you're lazy, you don't care, you're idle, you're wasting, whatever. There's just names that get thrown at you instantly. And I realize that more and more. It's like, as a man, I just have to do. And anything outside of my doing isn't valued. So when I'm being peaceful and I'm just chilling and I'm like, I had my meditation this week and I did my 10-day retreat and I've actually been quite reflective. No one gives a fuck about that.
Wow.
But if I said, all right, I'm going to carry all these bags up the stairs by myself like a mule, I get like, oh my God, yes, thank you so much for doing that. It's like, that's the only thing I'm valued for, which I think is hella problematic.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I actually value the other thing.
So do I.
Like,
Me too.
Yeah.
I like my
Same
10-day
reasons.
10-day version of it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great.
I've had some painful friendship breakups, like really, really painful. I had, at the beginning of lockdown, a friend who I'd been friends with maybe for, maybe like 15 years.
Wow.
Ghosted me.
What the hell?
Wow.
And I mean, we were tight. My kids knew him and he had a goddaughter and we were close. We chilled all the time. And one day he just did not return my call. To this day.
You don't know why.
If you're listening, I'm still hurt. No, but yeah, no, I don't know why. Never. Like it was one of the most traumatic things that I've experienced because I was like, what happened? And I'd sent messages and then I found out things along the way as to why that might have happened. And, you know, there was things that happened in his life and I kind of understand. I could even empathize. Right. But I'm like, that was so painful.
No one talks about. Actually, no, you go ahead. No, I was like, no one really talks about the friendships that you mourn, especially male to female, right?
Yes.
The friendships that you mourn without knowing that they stopped talking to you because they had liked you. So, for instance, I had a friend.
That's why you start shooting friends on, man.
Yeah.
But
this guy definitely didn't like me. I wasn't his type.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like in that sense, where in that kind of, I don't know, in that example, I've had a friendship whereby, you know, I didn't know that they had liked me, and then we were super, super, super close, and then all of a sudden they just like not invited to the cookout, kind of slowly but surely ghosting, and I'm like.
Because he's hurting, because he loves you.
No, but
and that's it. And
I've known you through several of your relationships. You've known me through several of my relationships. There's never been a moving to a, any type of confession. And then I'm having to find and piece the rhetoric, the reason from other people. But it's that Did
his girlfriend maybe say the relationship? So he just literally decided,
And I'm cool with his past girlfriends. But it's just very interesting. This current girlfriend, we don't speak. But at the same time, it's just like, that's really painful.
It is.
Because I would just rather have that honest, free flow conversation and then cool.
It's almost like someone's died, I feel like. Yeah. Like someone's died in your life and that's it. But then you see them on socials or then you're like, what? You know, what happened there?
Yeah. Chanté, is there an intersection between love and ADHD that has a completely different way? Like, how does that work? Because we talked about connection with people. Love is complex anyway, man. And an internet love, which is the internet generation of love, is difficult anyway. Like, I don't even know.
You phrased that so well, because I wanted to ask that.
Yeah, that's what
I didn't have the articulation to ask it, because we've only just met. And I was just like, how do I ask that bit? But yeah,
I think
I'm glad I'm here.
There's so much stuff on like love and dating and ADHD out there. Like the biggest things are, you kind of alluded to this before, when you kind of meet someone who has ADHD and it's like, wow, this amazing person does all this thing and has all these interests and knows all these things and blah blah blah, and like people can become really obsessed with you, and you in turn become really obsessed with people. But then like at some point, either on your end, your kind of fixation or your hyper focus on this individual in this relationship starts to wane and you start to get bored of them, or the novelty wears off and you're now kind of getting into like normal, regular, everyday motions of someone, and it's not as fun, as exciting as it once was before. Or like what I've noticed a lot is like sometimes it's the other person who's like, when they meet you, they're like, oh my God, you're so amazing, you're da-da-da-da. But then after a while, the thing that they love you for, they begin to resent you for. And so you kind of have those kind of dynamics of relationships. You have a lot of like, I don't know if you've like, you know a lot about like limerence. And so sometimes you think, oh, you feel like you love someone, but they're a limerent object. And so limerence is kind of like a romantic obsession. And so it's like when you maybe don't know someone that well, but in your head, you've kind of created this story between the two of you. And it's like when people kind of, I would say limerence is a lot of like someone being like obsessed with their like boss or their co-worker. And maybe at some point in this relationship, the affection was returned, but not enough for it to warrant this very huge emotional outpouring towards them. And that's a huge thing with ADHD, like emotional dysregulation. Like your highs are really high and your lows are really low. And so I went to a talk and they described it so brilliantly. They were like, you know, if someone slaps you on your back, it hurts. If you have sunburn and someone slaps you on your back, no, that's really gonna hurt. And that is what it's like with ADHD. It's like you experience something and the average person is like, ow, and you're like, I'm dead. Like, do you know what I mean? And so when you have those extreme highs and those extreme lows, oh my God. And that's the thing, ADHD is that what makes it so exhausting is the internal kind of management and regulation. It's like the busyness of your mind, the busyness of your emotions, and constantly having to regulate that so you can interact in the world like a normal person. And so I kind of feel like, especially when you have ADHD and you're dating, it's like the person you are when you're out there, you're like, I'm not putting on the show, but I'm being this person to all these people. And then you kind of retreat to the safety of your own home. And it's like, and it's like when I'm dating someone and they see me in both of those instances, they're like,
too different.
They expect me to be this person all the time. And I'm like, how can I be this person without being this person?
Yeah, exactly.
I have to rest and recuperate. Like I live by myself. Like I can go a week without speaking to another person, but I will go to an event on Tuesday evening and I'll be like the life of the party. But it's because I spent the whole weekend indoors. And so I think there's sometimes an expectation for you to always be that person. And so that becomes a huge thing. Boredom. People with ADHD can tend to get bored of relationships. Like my biggest fear is like dating someone and really liking them and then getting to like 6 weeks into the relationship and being like climbing up the walls because I want to get the hell out. So it's like,
does that happen regularly?
It never lasts that long, to be honest. It never lasts long enough for it to get boring.
Really?
I'm sorry, that was me.
So I feel like I haven't really. The longest person I ever dated was the same time as my longest job, 1 year. So I feel like I have a 1 year expiry on like all of my romantic relationships.
Make me feel sad?
Huh?
That sounds exciting. I'm like, yay.
No, but I'm so tired now.
But
you're tired now.
Like I used to have so many different jobs growing up. That's because I'm like interested in so many different things, and I feel like I can do so many different things quite to a high standard. So I'm like, exactly. I want to try everything. Like, why am I being vindicated for being a job home? Like, I don't get it.
I think in a relationship sense, it's almost like, because again, similarly, like trying to date from 18. To find consistency is really difficult. One thing I really wanted was an anchor that was the yin to my yang. So I needed someone that was a bit more consistent than I was in particular areas and can do things that I can't do very well. But trying to find those people usually are pretty neurotypical and therefore quite structured and consistent and stable and not always.
Not use the boring word.
I'm trying. Yeah, like it's safe.
Yeah,
like,
and
I think sometimes when you say to them like, "Oh, I have an idea and it involves me traveling to another country and building something," that scares the living daylights out of them. So you have to try to make yourself slightly smaller to fit into it and make them feel safe, so they don't feel like they are being abandoned by you. So you create this kind of cycle of like. You meet these amazing people, but either too crazy, eccentric, happy people doing shit, may not necessarily anchor each other, and we'll find ourselves doing too much. And then you find someone who anchors you, but then they don't want to do anything else because you're already scaring them with just like them watching you do 9 different jobs, travel to 5 different countries. Like when I see you're in Lisbon or something, I'm just like, I get it.
You thought I lived there?
Yeah, no.
I remember
I was like, have you gone?
You were like,
Lisbon is
do you live
amazing.
in this country? I was like, yeah.
But mainly because I was doing the same thing with South Africa. It's like I found a pattern of places to be, and I was like, when I'm here, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And so then you have to come back to this reality so that people don't think that you're crazy or something, or to like reestablish with the things that you have here. But I'm kind of cool wherever.
And for me, it was always last minute as well. And that's like, one thing I know about, like, I'm saying, in relationships, like I've been in many relationships, but I'm assuming you have to be considerate to your partner. And one thing about me is that I'm going to book a holiday in 1 week's time and be away for a month. And it's not something I ever want to consult anyone about because I don't work for anyone. I don't answer to anyone. Having to answer to people gives me anxiety because that kind of, someone having kind of not necessarily control, but like leadership over me or authority over me brings me back into that school state where I start to feel insecure and small and like I can't handle myself. And so I like freedom. And I'm like, well, what does this mean when you're like, literally on Friday, I'm going to Dominican Republic. I booked it on Sunday because I just felt like leaving the country. But it's like, there's all that stuff to consider. And another thing with ADHD, a lot of people with ADHD get accused of love bombing in relationships. And love bombing is such a dirty word. It's something we hear a lot when we're talking about modern relationship dynamics. And like someone with ADHD is not being malicious in trying to be like, oh, I want to manipulate this person by overwhelming them with love, like reducing their walls so I can then kind of get what I want from them and then leave. But it's more like you meet someone and you really like them and you really want to show them that you like them and you're like trying to impress them. But it's like, you know, sometimes it could be like a boredom takes over, or sometimes they're not kind of giving it back to you in the same way you want it. So you cool it down. But then they're like, you're love bombing me. But it's like, oh, that's not what I was trying to do. I'm just really invested in this thing. I see the future of it. I see the potential of it, but it can be misread, and which is why
I think that's so important, because I think when we talk about popularizing like pop terms or pop psychology, all this language is being thrown out, and then these definitions, even a definition of like narcissism, gets thrown out there. Everywhere. And then when you actually look at the formal definition, it's a self-interest, and you're like, well, that's kind of important,
right?
And there's words like humble, which are like, you know, you almost deprecate yourself to be and pretend you're not as amazing as you are to fit into whatever. So it's like none of these words really make sense, but in relationships, all of these words that kind of come out, and you start sitting there reading them, and there's a point, I don't know if you remember, you might have been on this call, but there was a Dope Black call, and we were talking about the abuse hierarchy, like a triangle of abuse, and it starts with like negging, and like then it's like coercion and manipulation, and it goes all up into these different cultures, and we were talking about what some of those things look and sound like, and then some of the words of the types of people that were being used. And so many of them were coming out. It triggered the whole Zoom call, and then no one spoke. There was no questions after it. No one. Everyone just went quiet and was like, no, that's it.
Wow.
Because we realized that some of the subtle things we do to each other, we nag. It's like, oh, so you're going to wear that, are you? Right, okay. Or, oh, you like that box set?
So
sure. Like, it's just these little things to destabilize you. But also in that, it's just things that naturally happen for ADHD. There's an intensity that happens. And it's not to persuade an outcome. It just feels like a natural thing that you really want to do. And it's genuine if it works. So having been in like a 12-year relationship, I know it's possible and it can be possible. But at the same time, there's this sort of thing of like trying to make sure that you're not appearing as so. And I think it works worse as a man, because men are normally the perpetrators of these things. If you're a man and you just are that way, there's no empathy. There's no capacity for you to have discovered that just now. So if I have to almost create a barrier that's so wide, I talk about this all the time to you, like anyone, I just like, can you just wait over there, please? I don't want to get too close that you think this means something that it's not, because it's not happening for me in the way that it appears. And as a man, there is no space to have error. So please don't confuse me with anything else that's going on. I'm processing.
But that's quite good you've done that, though. I think that's good. I think that's part of the work that you've identified that you need to do to order to protect yourself as well as protect whoever.
Yes. It's just sad, because I think also a part of me is like, I'm still that little boy that just wants to vibe with people.
Yeah.
And I'm still curious and I still get passionate. So like when I message you, it's just sheer passion. Like, I love what you're saying. This is great. And I might do the same thing to Kelechi. I'm just like, I watch you and you make sense to me.
There's no innocence left for it, is there?
There's no innocence.
Really sad.
So you just have to admire almost from a distance now. And I think also at the same time, some of that stuff can create some of the confusion that's happening now with this poor woman who hopefully is she finds answers and it gets better. But like, there's lots of little things that just happen and it weighs really heavy.
What are we talking about?
So basically, I think I alluded to it earlier. There's a woman who dated somebody. He featured on a podcast. That podcast was shouted out on a show that I was on. And I spoke about it and said, I know these guys, they're great guys. They do amazing things. Mm-hmm. She's seen this clip and has said that they platformed an abuser. Yeah. So it's 3 degrees of separation. This happened 2 years ago. So when that happened, they removed him from the podcast and all that kind of stuff. They did all the things that they were supposed to be doing. But that was 2 years ago. So I obviously didn't know about it. But now she's gone back to this clip and said, you said that they're doing great work. You're platformists of abusers. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, thanks for bringing that to my attention, whatever. And then it was like, now we need to go on a petition and, boycott and go on this campaign. And I was like, to be honest, he's not involved in that platform anymore. I've spoken to the founder and he's like, he's not doing anything. I'm not connected to them in any way. So what would you like, really? And what's realistic?
Be angry at them too. I'm angry.
Well, no, because I take it seriously because I think it's super important when these things happen. I don't want to cause her any more harm or any more danger because it's not. She's obviously reacting for whatever reason, whatever's happened in her life. She's reacting in a way because she's in pain. And if I know I can't help. And it's so funny, I was in South Africa having dinner with all my friends there, and one of the topics that came up is when do you get involved? And my friend told the story about like someone in his team went through a mental episode and was just like bombing this group, just like message bombing, voice notes. And then at one point, someone in the team messaged her and said, look, you sure you're okay? It's Christmas. How are you? I'm really worried about you, whatever. And then somebody, he told the rest of the group that he had done that. And then she was like, only go in if you can go all the way. Don't dip in and then disappear because that destabilizes them further. Anyway, so then a week goes by and then she asked him for something, maybe money. And he says he can't do it. So then she screen grabbed something that he had sent and was just like, this is the guy. It has no relation to this thing. She's like, this guy, he came to my house where he doesn't want to give me money, but he can come inside me. She just went into this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
So his wife is like, what the hell? The group is like, what the hell? It's all the trending on Twitter. And he's just like, all I did is ask you if you're all right. And now look where I am. Yeah. And so literally this weekend.
That's so sad though, isn't it?
But again, people are going through things that are profound, but we're in a world where when men are accused of things before we even know anything, it's gone to 10 and you are that. So, I always say to men in my groups, just please be careful. Like just operate at a space of respect and distance if you're not going to show up properly, because kind of showing up as a fake hero is worse than just like ignoring the whole thing and pretending it didn't happen. So have the time and capacity to do it properly. So anyway, so that has happened and that was just ringing in my head. So literally it felt like by Jeopardy, 2 days later, this is now in my life. And the first thing I said is like, I absolutely hear you because I would never want to co-sign a platform that is mismanaged. So I went to investigate and a day later it came back out. I was like, cool, the guy's gone. This is no longer connected, but you're still hurt clearly. So I'm just dealing with you. And then once she was like, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Then the next morning when I woke up, it was just these requests for things. And I was like, I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't have the capacity. I don't think it's my skill set to be doing this. I've held them to account and they've made changes in their organization, which I think is what should happen. And again, I'm communicating to you, but I don't think that's for me to be doing. And then so now it's like I'm platforming and like she's just tweeting me, like it's just going crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm for me it's interesting because my friends are DMing me and they're like, oh, I can see this thing and you're okay. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But like I don't have a problem with it. But then I understand what the perception could be, but I don't have a problem with it because I know she's hurting. I'm not here to tell her to stop. Like if you feel you need to communicate something, say it. Because at the end of the day, anyone that feels that they've gone through that type of experience, and I've been around those types of people, the pain is irreparable, and you want justice. So unless someone's going to offer you justice, then really and truly just let her share how she feels. Like, and there's nothing else I can say to her, but I would if there was anything I could. So yeah, I think that stuff is really important. And we was actually talking about ADHD and personal relationships, but it shows up in a particular way. That culture of how you interact with people does really matter, because what may be happening for you isn't happening for them, and vice versa, and that's quite difficult to navigate.
Do you think there's any relation between being ADHD and being in like long distance relationships? Because of boredom, because of access,
novelty. I don't know, actually. I don't know a lot of people, a lot of ADHDers in long distance relationships. I mean, they probably are, and they probably have the most craziest and interesting ways to kind of keep in contact. And the thing is, I can't lie, I could probably be in a long distance relationship because I honestly don't need someone around me every single day.
I've been in like 3.
I honestly feel like that would be so comfortable for me. And I like traveling anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not having someone in my face all the time is such a blessing.
Yeah. I was listening to this podcast the other day, and it was talking about a relationship needs to sit at around 6 out of 10 in order to succeed and be long lasting.
Yeah.
But if you're ADHD, I feel like you live in 2 and 10.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you, I mean, I don't know if I believe it needs to sit in a 6, but it probably does need to sit in about a 6 or a 7 for it to be consistent, for you to, you know, build, grow, not it to be crazy, you know.
Right.
But then if you are ADHD, that's a lot of work, isn't it?
It is, I think you're right in the 8 to 2. And I think the key is, and my psychiatrist was just like, what you're trying to do is just minimize. You're trying to get like the 8 to 4, then 8 to 6, trying to create a certain level of consistency in your highs and your lows, so that you're not creating extremities. And I think you do need to kind of sit in this middle space of like, I'm okay with nothing happening for 6 months. I'm okay with not having any form of thrills or enjoyment or growth or challenge for like 6 months to a year. I never forget in one relationship, and I was just like, look, man, we've been stagnant for like 6 months. What's happening? And they were like, I need 6 more months just to like stabilize myself.
That's so hard though, isn't it?
So by the way, at 6 months, I was already like, I'm losing my shit because I need
6
something
months
happening.
is long. I'm talking 2 days, a week.
No, it was like 6 months, and I was like being very patient. Like, it's okay, cool. Then at the 6 month point, I was like, I had a mini intervention. Sit down, let's talk about it. We sat down and talked about it, and it was like, look, I just need maybe 3 more months. I think it was 3 more months.
For what though?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
For processing, just time.
Process of what? Boredom?
Just time, consistency, stability, the life that they're going through, whatever.
Just everyday normal thing. Probably just everyday normal life though, isn't it?
Probably.
It's not like,
and I was like, cool. But then basically it was like this weird thing of like your brain just presents the information to you right about that time. So it was like 2 days before, roughly about 3 months, it just came to my brain that 3 months. We was like, we're gonna just be chilled. So I waited 2 more days. I was like, look, it's been about 3 months. Yeah. Where are you right now with this thing? And I could see in their face, they're like, you literally took it to the date. Well, no, I actually found out 2 days earlier. And my brain said, if I wait 2 more days, then I've done what I said I was going to do. And I have a right to ask again because, like, I want to travel. I want to go do stuff. I'm like, let's move. For sure. And I think they were so disturbed by the idea that I had waited specifically 3 months to the day.
Oh, my God.
They couldn't come back to the conversation with me.
I feel like
and
they're
they just
so
looked defeated.
selfish.
But, like, I just feel like it's one of those things where my brain works. Like, if me and you start arguing, all the information that I need just surfaces and comes like this.
Real talk. That's me.
In a timeline, like chronologically. So I can now, not only can it's there, I see it in between you and I can be like, so this happened, and that happened, and that happened. Then that happened, and that's why that happened.
Yeah.
And you may not believe me, you'd be like, but because I can literally see it in an ordered, structured, like filing system.
Why is this giving Virgo energy?
Yeah. And I can relay it back to you. This is where the conviction comes from. Because I'm seeing it in timelines. Yeah. So because my brain does that, it makes me a horrible person to argue with, which is why I try my best to not argue, because it's not nice. There's no room. Because I've already sorted it. I know the timeline. I know what you were wearing. I can see you telling me 3 months. So you now can't tell me that it's not 3 months, because I remember where we were. I was lying down here. You were sitting there. This was going on. That film was on. And I can visualize it.
It's so funny. I always get told, you should be a lawyer. The way I argue, you should be a lawyer. And they're sitting there baffled as I'm like, like throwing things at them. But it's like, yeah, it's true.
This is why I just don't date. I truly cannot be bothered. The emotional capacity you need to have to just manage someone else and yourself and negotiating and sacrifice and oh my god,
but it's fun too. We should say it's really fun too.
I always think that like the trade-off for being intimate is the wahala, but then the older I'm getting, I'm like, I just don't want
I don't know. Maybe I just I can't bother. I can't bother.
It's a real thing, and I think if we ever figure out and master relationships as a group of neurodivergent people, we all just date each other. And I swear to God, we'll just create signs that says I'm open and I'm neurodivergent. Please, how will it work? Yeah. Also, I think there was when I was writing my book, there's a correlation between being neurodivergent and non-monogamous as well. There's like a whole thing. So it's not that because you're ADHD or neurodivergent, you are non-monogamous, but most non-monogamous people are neurodivergent. And so there's a real relationship. Yeah, I think it's just like a
what did you say? Did you say smell?
You know, non-monogamous people, like, don't they always look a bit
You're so... that's what I thought you said. Why? I was like, did you really say...
No, because I think she has a visual of a person, which I don't want to laugh about.
I'm not gonna lie. Purple hair, like your white person with dreads.
Yeah.
They always look a bit smelly.
they believe in
not
like
selling it right now.
Non-chemical deodorant.
Yeah. No aluminium inside. And listen, I'm on my health tip doing it, but there's aluminium in it.
You gotta find the right salt crystal.
Please shower twice a day, including your legs. Yeah, it's mad because like I know the archetype. I know the archetype that you're talking about.
But trust me, there's a different type of archetype as well, man. Trust me, like a lot of people in Barbados are poly.
Really?
Yes. I learned more about polyamory in Barbados.
Wow. I would definitely
it actually opened up my mind in Barbados to polyamory.
You know what I'm actually thinking after listening to everything? No. It's not about relationships. It's just about humans. So we've set up the system of schools that has one way of teaching a curriculum to all these people that are super different. Like we all don't look alike. None of us look alike in here, but we're all black, but we don't look nothing alike. Some people are short, some people are tall. Yet we've got these systems in place to teach kids how to become adults. And the same thing with relationships. Religion has kind of said, monogamy, blah, 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 blah. This is how you and a man and a woman should coexist. But the truth is, the human race was never set up for this rubbish. And trying to fit everybody into this one size fits all is not working. So that's why I think this is all starting to come to the top.
Absolutely.
There's not enough good men for me to consider polyamory though in the UK. I can't find one person that I like, let alone two.
But as a traveller though, do you not find great men in each different place?
But they're only great for that period of time. Outside of that context, we actually never need to speak again. Let it be like folklore, you know?
Are you saying this to the people?
I love you.
But they know that.
No, are you saying it?
I mean, I don't need to. We're in Mexico. Woo. You know, but as soon as I jump at Heathrow.
It's so true. Holiday romances, travel then never works.
Yo, I wish they could. I'm going to try and zoom into your face though. You just like,
Heathrow.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as them bills start hitting.
Numbers left at the gate.
Oh, wow. Listen, guys, this has been absolutely good food and amazing. Thank you so much. You know what's really funny is every time I try to do a really structured podcast that's like 40 minutes here, 40 minutes here, it just turns into like a vibe, and we've been going for literally 90 minutes and just on a whole vibe.
That's so good.
And it's gone so quick. So I really appreciate you all coming out of your busy weeks to come and hang out and have this conversation. It's been really good to see you all. So thank you, Chanté Joseph. Thank you, Amie Snow. Thank you, Darwood Grace. And thank you for Shelly Bishton. Appreciate you all and love you all. And hopefully we'll do this again. By the way, I don't mind doing part 2, part 3. I'm down for it just to keep going because there's bare vibes. So I appreciate it. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.